History is not what happened in the past. History is what we can document that happened in the past. So when we look at land use legacies, when we look at the ecology, the cultural history, the geography, the geology, when we look at land use planning, environmental planning, and landscape architecture, all of these fields are parts of the Wormsloe landscape. So we bring in graduate students from these multiple areas across campus because they each contribute unique knowledge, unique skill sets. And when they work together as a team, we are able to very quickly unravel this puzzle that's been built up one generation after the next here at Wormsloe.
Observation is such a large part of ecological work, and the opportunity we have here at Wormsloe to engross ourselves in our research site and really be surrounded by the environment that we are trying to understand is unique. I study this marine crab that has a parasite that gets into it, castrates it, and makes it female. So if you have a male crab, it becomes a female crab once it's infected. At that point, it's essentially a parasite-producing machine. The crab no longer reproduces its own offspring, it's only reproducing parasite offspring. And so an increase in this parasite could actually change feeding rates that might lead to a decrease in the health of the oyster reefs.
Right now I'm really focused on the historic research, and I've been spending a lot of time in Hargrade and reading through the various stuff that's already been written to try and come up with our chronology so that we can start then interpreting how the site has changed and determining what our courses of action for the future. So I'm doing a cultural landscape report on the main house area, the slave cabin area, the farm complex, and fortified house ruins so that we can have an effective document for managing the future treatment options on the landscape for preservation of what's still here and figuring out where other things can go if more buildings or other things were going to be added to the site. What's culturally significant so that you can avoid those areas and build in areas that might be less culturally significant.
For my PhD, I'm investigating rice cultivation at Wormsloe. I'm looking for microtopographic features such as dikes or any sort of evidence related to rice cultivation. So rice cultivation relied upon the construction of embankments, impoundments, dikes, canals, all these features that were built in order to irrigate the field and to kind of maintain the field. My research is trying to provide an answer to one of the gaps in Wormsloe's environmental history. So if we know more about Wormsloe's history, we will know more about, the history of Georgia.
My work at Wormsloe involves looking at how past land use has influenced current soil properties, and I also am examining the natural soil variability of the property.
7.5 YR34.
There's an element of investigating the soils here. What's the natural variability? How did past human activity influence the soils? Because I think it's important from a research perspective. It's important for us to understand how humans impact the environment. And it's not necessarily a good or bad thing, but it helps give us information of how we can better manage our natural resources.
I've been co-mentoring a couple of graduate students who have been involved with research projects here. The first one was looking at the effects of stopover of songbird migrants in the Wormsloe area here. And that project just recently finished up, and now we're looking at a new project looking at the effects of butterfly gardens on pollinator communities here in the southeastern US. One of the reasons why we started this project was because butterflies and other pollinators are currently declining throughout the world right now. And so here at Wormsloe, we had the unique opportunity to use some of the available land here, thanks to Craig and Diana, and we were able to install a series of butterfly gardens here on the property. And in doing so, we can actually examine the effects of these butterfly gardens on the pollinators that are here.
I'm working on my PhD. My initial idea of looking at on-island habitat was shifted when I discovered that the old drainage ditches were allowing tidal influx to come into the interior of the islands and flood what should have historically been freshwater wetlands. So that the wetlands are now turning to slightly brackish water, and many amphibians aren't able to breed in that. So that the types of animals I'm finding is lower than I would have expected because of land use legacies associated with drainage ditches.
To be immersed on the property from morning until later in the evening helps me understand how this landscape works.
The ability to work in a site that is so rich with collaborators and resources is truly unique.
Doing the research here at Wormsloe, we're part of something really, really special, and I feel like we're helping to preserve a piece of history.